Just give it a few seconds to let it come in.
And it ought to taste good.
There's the lens in there.
Bluetooth successfully paired.
Until the lions have their historians, tales of the hunt shall always glorify the hunter.
That screen monitor is always 18 seconds. It's based on like the actual people that's responding in the comments. So whatever they see, that's what they see. With their hand it works.
Oh, okay. Did you get any interviews from Tanzania?
Yeah, got a whole bunch of them. Like I'm actually working on
The views and opinions expressed are those of the guest and do not necessarily reflect the official policy or position of Ruach and Emmet.
So
Any
the
content provided by our guests
system
or
that
authors
they're
are of
operating
their
on in
perspective and are
Tanzania is
not
what?
intended to malign any religion, ethnic group, club,
I'm saying
organization,
is
company,
democracy,
individual,
is
or anyone or
Islam,
anything.
is
The purpose of this broadcast is to provide education and thought-provoking discussions. This is the perspective.
They take out the like ways of like the freedom from, you know, like if you a Muslim, you practice without having the fear of the other religion, whatever, you know. So each religion has this.
so it's religious toleration now.
Yeah.
Mm.
Alrighty, let me get this up there. There's there. Here, that camera. Oh, that's better. Alrighty. We're back in the building. We're back on the perspective.
We back at it.
And before we get started, I just want to say welcome back to Prince, and also we're back in the States as we go back and forth getting things done on the continent here and the States here. So, you know, it's good to be back. It's good to be able to hop back on the perspective and really start diving into some of the information that we're going to talk about today. And I know this one has been waiting to be shared, and I really want to hear more of the part of history that we haven't known in the sense of freedom, right?
Right.
And so the title of today's broadcast is, let's get the banner up real quick. When Slavery Was Over, I know this can go into many facets.
Question mark.
Question mark. When slavery was over. So.
When slavery was over?
Yeah, when slavery was over.
It's in the pronunciation of the term. If you put a period, is when slavery was over.
Mm-hmm.
If you put a question mark, is when slavery was over.
So gotta make it like some emphasis on that.
Yeah, it's interrogative, so it's a question. When slavery was over.
Okay.
So it's not when slavery was over. It's not with a period.
Mm-hmm.
The question mark is a point of reference. It distinguishes it from the period at the end. Because the period is just a statement.
Yeah.
But the question mark.
So it would be a question mark with an exclamation mark behind
Right.
Well,
So I don't know how many people caught that.
I guess I'll say it like that. When slavery was over,
That's
kind of
it.
like a sarcastic way too.
Yeah,
So,
it's all of that.
yeah.
But I don't know how many people might have caught it.
Mm-hmm.
But it's all in the language.
Yeah. So, since we've been prompted with that sarcastic question, right? And like I said, you have their story, you have our story, and then you have his story, right? And when we talk about this particular part of history, especially years since so much stuff has been going on in this nation alone, right? Then we know it affects worldwide because of the focus, right? But then to prompt this question, like I said, a sarcastic question, and to look at it from a point of view of, are we hearing the right things about this? Are we still perpetually in it right now, and we think we're free? Well,
That's
we're gonna talk about it. So welcome back to The Perspective. We have our guest, Dr. Prince Sar Amiel, here to bring us another great segment of history that you all need to hear. And we're also going to talk about his book too.
Yes.
So if you have not copped it, make sure you get it. But we're going to talk about that after we get a little more into this, and we're going to introduce to you guys his new book he's written. You probably heard of War, Destiny, Freedom, but now you're going to hear about freedom.
Right.
And we're going to hear about it from a point of answering the question too.
Answering the question.
Okay?
Yes.
So, without further ado, Prince.
First of all, I'm so happy you back. I guess that might be a little selfish because I know you in Tanzania doing great work. You know, and I asked you about the interviews, a myriad of interviews that you've done there, and you're talking about the fact that you were going to do a piece on the whole Tanzanian trip and the great things that you're all doing there, because people need to know. I want to hear about Tanzania because everybody's been talking about Ghana.
Yeah.
And there's a distinct difference between Tanzania and Ghana. And so you don't hear a lot of negative stuff coming out about Tanzania. But Ghana has been so jacked up by everybody, Americans, Chinese, British, and they really don't own much of what they may consider they own.
Right.
You know, so I know a lot of black people who have an affinity toward the continent, and also have an affinity toward recognizing or being recognized for coming from there.
Mm-hmm.
Even though the reality is most of the black people in America didn't actually come from the continent. Mm-hmm. You know, a lot of the black people were already here, because all of this is in the context of the topic, though.
Okay.
You know, because the native Indian,
Mm-hmm.
the Eurocentric system, when they came here, they wrote back to England and said that the land was terra nullius, or meaning that there were no people here,
Right.
right? But it was a damnable lie, you know. And so I used to tell people, just go back to some of your conversations with your family, your elders or whatever, and somebody might say, well, my grandmother is 1/8 Apache. That's supposed to bring up a red flag. He's 1/8 Apache. Ain't no such thing. That's how Europeans do things. They say 1/8.
Yes, so where
Right, you're either Apache or you aren't. So if your grandmother's Apache, that means that you're Apache. Or if you were Cheyenne, that means you were Cheyenne. Or you could just keep going. So that means that there were millions of people here and thousands of tribes, because before the world was put in the context of this united thing, the world was tribal,
Absolutely.
which gives credence to the theory that black people took part in slavery. Because if you were just tribes and some barbarians were coming and you had a problem with another tribe,
Right.
you could say,
They join with them.
you understand what I'm saying? And then become a stakeholder,
Yep.
which like some of them did. But the point being is that if there were people here already, they're not even being recognized, or we are not even being recognized, because
Well, it's
I
like
found out.
savage, you know, the decree that went out, any savages, you can conquer them and use them any way you want to.
And anyway, which is what they do around the whole world.
Yeah.
So, where's the freedom? I mean, because inculcated in the concept of freedom is safety, is care. You know, in the context of freedom is manifest destiny. In the context of freedom is life affirming. But if you live in the opposite, then where's freedom? Because they have used this concept of democracy as a weapon around the world. Because democracy gives you the illusion that it's benevolent or that it's good. Now, because people talk about it like that, doesn't necessarily make it that. It's more that you have to look at, what does democracy bring? What has it spawned on the planet? How's it affected the planet? Now, I use this definition because I know people are not going to like it, but they're going to have to come to terms with it if they're going to be free. And that is, democracy is synonymous with corruption. So every place that you look at on the planet that has accepted democracy, their number one issues are corruption. Right?
From the top down.
From the top down. And the greatest export of America is democracy. So they go around cloning themselves in all of these nations. So you see that facetious question, you know, slavery is...
When slavery was over.
When slavery was over?
Let's bring it back up real quick. When slavery was over,
When
question mark.
Question mark. When slavery was over? Because we're questioning that statement. Because it is categorically not true. Now, you might want to put some sentiment into it or some emotion or whatever, but the problem is that we put emotion and sentiment over truth,
Correct.
right? So if we're supposed to be dealing with the truth, we have to come to terms with these things, right? I asked a question one day to some people I was teaching, and I said, well, suppose you didn't like daylight savings time.
Mm-hmm.
Who would you talk to get it changed? It's rhetorical.
Yeah, it's rhetorical.
Yeah, that's rhetorical. Nobody thinks to even approach that. If I don't like daylight savings time, I got to ask the European. But nobody's going to ask them because it's a non-issue.
Right. Everybody's become accustomed to it.
Everybody has accepted it. And the acceptance of this concept, their concept of time, has been a problem to us. You know,
Speaking of time, you know, we hear the term African time,
right.
and you asked me the question about, you know, just briefly about Tanzania and different things like that.
Right.
It's a true thing. You know, our people, time, they don't even think about time. It's like, if I get it done, I get it done. If not, I'm not going to stress. One thing a day, they fine. So the fact that you mentioned like this daylight savings and how the construct has been accepted by so many where they don't even think to, you know what, let me go address this because it's throwing a lot of things off with how we function.
That's right. That's
You know,
right.
To the point where something can make you in this craziest thing. I don't know if it's just the fact that, you know, as the sun sets, you know, you're driving and you start getting sleepy. You could have slept for 8 hours, but as soon as that sun sets, you get sleepy. Vice versa. Sun rises and you feel good. You feel like you could drive forever.
Feel energetic, yeah.
But now that you do it, as we draw near to that time now, where, you know, I think November, usually that's when they do the old daylight savings. And we're controlled on how our sleeping goes because they set this in motion. When this time happens, when this time comes, you're going to get sleepy, you're going to go to sleep, you're going to adjust to this, you're going to go to work at this time. Slavery, democracy.
It's a valid point,
Yeah.
right? So we got to stop emoting and deal with what's true.
Mm-hmm.
One thing that our people said, where's your family from?
So, in this nation, of course, we were always told most people from the South, right? So, Mississippi, some like North and South Carolina, right? Have some family that's on the West Coast, but for the most part, it was from the South. Now, back on the continent, we have South and Northwest Africa, which is Morocco.
Right.
Father side, Morocco. The mother side, South Africa.
And see, now that's legit.
Mm-hmm.
But when you talking to most African Americans,
Mm-hmm.
they don't have that.
Well, some people don't even do the due diligence to say, you know, I got to figure some things out and not be misled by the narrative.
Right.
You know, because I can easily say one thing, but then I'm more ignorant myself for saying it and then fully investigate it. You know,
Right.
and there's a lot more things that's now starting to unravel or come out, and it's for us to have our due diligence because it could be the same narrative again where, oh well, just let them be this or let them be that, but then you don't fact check it. And even giving our people now where they just accept
Anything, right? But we got to come to terms with the fact that some of us were already here.
Mm-hmm.
because the what they call the native Indians, right? They come in all shapes, sizes, colors, hues, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you were saying that you come from South Carolina, North Carolina, and all of that.
Yeah.
They had what you call the Geechees or whatever, but you also remember that there's so many tribes, like the Seminoles are big, right? In the South, right? But that's a black tribe.
Yeah.
But literally all the tribes are black because all these people are people of color.
True. Now, when you say people of color, because this has been a thing, and this to stay on this topic as well, but people of color. I gotta say this because it's been used right now in this political arena, and it has grasped our people so much where that's the only way they can think inside this box of, well, the particular person that's running for the next president, she's a woman of color, right? Now,
They just
that
don't.
word is easy to be said, but then when you start to narrow down, we know exactly when we say it from a certain point. You know, say I'm black, you know, if I say, you know, you colored, I understand. You know, we can just say you Negro or whatever. But then when someone else comes and say, oh, I'm that too, but realistically not. You didn't really go through the struggles that most people went through. Some people are immigrants.
Okay, so you're expanding on the concept, and most people just leave it at that.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But in expanding on the concept, what we're saying is that there's a culture that has dominated us for over 460 years. So we don't really know who we are. Because after you are assimilated into an empire, you become that, whether you like it or not. And I'm saying that doesn't negate that there aren't conscious people who are fighting these types of things.
Yeah.
But the problem is, you do the Christmas, you do the you do the Easter.
I do it for too long.
No, I'm not talking about you.
No, I'm talking about when I was younger and I got
Yeah.
older. I was like, you know, I say around 8, 5, 6. I started questioning things. I seen things that ain't making sense.
Right. You do the 40-hour work week.
Yeah, true.
You understand? Which is cultural.
Uh-huh.
So we've been assimilated into the American empire, right? Which is part of the psychological quagmire that puts us in the position that we're in right now, where we don't really question that which is important, and that which is necessary for this thing that we call freedom. Now, the interesting thing about the terminology, if we talk about freedom, is one thing. If somebody is talking about us and freedom, they may say another thing, right? Because in the 460 years, everything has pretty much been defined for us. Even our arguments, even our responses to things have been developed for us.
Right.
So we think we're operating independent of this so-called construct when everything has been set up for us.
It's systematic.
You understand? I was talking to somebody the other day, and I've been saying this for years. Somebody made a statement to me the other day. They've said, because they were talking about the billions of dollars that they had put together for HBCUs, and they wound up taking the money back. So they figured out they had to figure out where to get the money for the HBCUs. And I was telling them, oh, they're going to get the money for the HBCUs because all of the major universities and colleges are Jesuit institutions. Because this whole construct, when you go back to the development of most of these schools, they come out of Christian concepts, right?
Yep.
You go to the history, Christian concepts. And so this whole thing about the HBCU, like it's different from Northwestern or what do you call them? Penn State or some of these Ivy League schools, like they're different. No, they're elite schools.
Harvard.
Yeah, they're elite schools, and there's schools for others, right? So everybody thinks that if they go to a HBCU, they're going to a black school, but you're not going to a black school. The biggest thing you have is black socialization. But what's required of you and what gets you the degree is the same thing that's required of all students in the United States.
Indoctrination.
Indoctrination. So it's no different. And a lot of these schools were created out of grants, or there's a thing called what was that terminology? Endowments, right? So it's really the endowments that keep the schools alive. That means somebody's paying for all of this, right? Whether you pay or not, somebody's paying for these schools to be open, for professors to be teaching the status quo, whether it's you're on a sports scholarship and you want to be a psychologist or something, or you want to be a nuclear physicist, whatever. It's all there and it's all set out for you. But the only reason why they give you the degree is because you have said to them that, hey, you can depend on me and you can trust me to safeguard and perpetuate your civilization. Right? So where is the freedom in that? The freedom involves education. But if the education has been weaponized, then where is the freedom?
Let me pose something to that, because I think I've gained a lot of wisdom by traveling, right? I don't know if it's just me or if it's something that is common to those that do travel, but when you're just, let's say for instance, when you're just in the States, America, right? And you never get outside of America. Even if someone that travels throughout the States here,
America,
right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
You can still have that same mindset of like the boxed in, but then when you actually travel, it's like something shifts in your mind where you already see, okay, I've been told this one thing, right? And it's all, it can have some truth with it. It can be some things that say, okay, maybe this may be true, maybe this not. But myself traveling and going to these different places and seeing the difference in which was said or which was taught for so many years, I asked myself about like that, like we were talking about that indoctrination, and saying like whether you accept it or not, you're in it. You're already raised in it for so long,
Right.
right?
Right.
And then to go these different places, and then to unthink, and then to really say, was this strategic on how they did this? Were they really trying to do this on purpose, or was it one of those things where, oh, maybe it was like this years ago, but now it's more development or whatever it may be?
Okay, well, let me ask you this.
Mm-hmm.
Einstein said that he didn't mean to make a bomb.
That's what he said, but so you just think he just...
Okay, so my point is that the intellectual level of things is really what is really the substance of the progress. Substance of the progress and the substance of the process, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, in answer to a question you really weren't trying to ask, the point is that it was all deliberate. It's all deliberate. I mean, they've left no stone unturned. And the whole, in the scriptures say the whole earth moans and groans, awaiting the expectation of the sons and daughters of God, because no place has been left untarnished to some extent. And even when you go throughout Africa, you find out that Africans speak better English than most of the black people in America.
Yeah.
They use 3-4 syllable words and all that kind of stuff. You know what I'm saying? You're saying, wow, how did y'all get there?
Not only that, they speaking English and maybe 2 or 3 other languages, and we just stuck with English.
Just stuck with English. Yeah. And so, we're not going to downplay the reality of traveling,
Mm-hmm.
because there's 2 different types of traveling. There's the entertainment traveling, and then there's the conscious traveler. Now, you are the conscious traveler ilk.
Mm-hmm.
So most people they just go to be entertained.
Vacation.
Yeah, entertainment, right? Okay, so this is a rare conversation we're having right now, because you are a conscious traveler.
Mm-hmm.
So you've been able to make the distinction between the 2 different realms in which you have your feet in, right?
Mm-hmm.
And what has happened is that it's created, you're another type of human being coming out of the slave experience, but into a neo-slave experience where you can't tell that slavery exists. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because the World Bank, IMF, the Bilderberg Group, it's a whole conglomerate of people, and their job is to control public opinion. So you'll find elements of things, even though you're going and you're being totally conscious of your presence and the presence of people and energies around you,
Mm-hmm.
right? There are subtle things, because let's say, for instance, Tanzania is not in the conversation of most black people as much as Nigeria, like I said, Ghana,
Mm-hmm.
Sudan,
West Africa.
right? So, so when you travel, you get to do these comparisons,
Yeah.
right? But the problem still remains. The IMF, the World Bank, they ain't left no stone unturned. And so now, one of the major wars is a war of currency, fiat currency,
Mm-hmm.
because they're talking about changing. They got BRIC,
Mm-hmm.
right, that has come out and said they're going to do their own trading with each other and all that kind of stuff. And so there's a war going on in hell. Yeah, you understand what I'm saying? But you don't get to play in that arena.
Right.
So it's like when they had COVID, they were constantly saying the world is not going to go back to what it was prior to that, right? So now we're looking at, they've been warning everybody that they want to go to a cashless situation. They pushing everybody to get credit cards like Chime and all of those, or debit cards or whatever, because one of the main problems in life is this thing called progress. Progress is the bane of human existence, because it makes you think that if you have something small, the object is to make it bigger. If you have something, that's semi to use, it's not powerful enough, you take that all the way to nuclear weapons or EMI, electromagnetic impulses, and all those types of things, where you can destroy machines that are based upon EMI, or you could even destroy people, because the body is electromagnetic. Yeah. And so just like they can disturb a computer, they can disturb an individual, which is the crux of the war on people today. You know what I'm saying? So even the homes, so much EMI floating around. Mm-hmm. One of the things that was, I think Orwell spoke about it, is that the same, like when you're looking at the TV, that the TV, one day the TV's going to be looking back at you.
Oh, they're already doing that.
But no, but I'm saying but this was in the 60s. Right. They were saying, because they knew when they created the internet, it was a major breakthrough. Because now they can send messages any kind of way that they want. And now you have children who are growing up with cell phones and spending more time with their cell phones than they are with their friends. And if they're with their friends, all of them got their cell phones. You know what I'm saying? So, and they get messages all the time. Yep. Whether they be subliminal, electromagnetic impulses that create part of a holographic technology, where they can send you messages and you can actually play these things out. And I gave you an example. The other day, this little boy.
I'm thinking you about to go. I'm about to ask you a question too. Go ahead.
This little boy stabbed his brother. Right? But check this. But what about all the people who are just shooting and killing and stabbing each other? I mean, it's at epidemic proportions. Yeah. So if this guy saw, a movie or something with somebody stabbing somebody, he don't know no different. It's like, that's just something to do.
Right. They go, like you said, the video games, you get so caught up in that. It's like reality is like, oh, they'll come back. Or yeah. The sensitivity,
yeah,
you become numb.
Yeah, they've been desensitized to violence. So now that child, unchecked, what else is he gonna do?
Just like the situation just happened in Georgia.
Say it again.
The situation just happened in Georgia. I mean, it was said a year prior to that.
Same thing.
That the FBI had already been checking on them, and then they said, "Oh, we missed something." It's like.
Because the concept of security is not an exact science.
Mm-hmm. That's what China is operating with right now. People said they'll give up their privacy for security, which means, like we talk about this how technology is operating, where all your information is there, nothing is hidden, to the point where you become a part more of the system, to the point where it's almost like a game, like when you look at the Matrix.
It is a game.
It's like, wake up, like y'all don't realize y'all are accepting it, and y'all just keep agreeing to adjust. Like you said, the downfall could be the mindset of progress, because if I'm better than you, I got to get to the moon. I got to get out of here so I can create a civilization outside of here. And they come back maybe 10, 15 years later and tell you that I created you.
That's right. That's the whole game. And we caught up in somebody else's game.
Mm-hmm.
And we don't question whether it's all right or not. We just do it because you already accepted the indoctrination. Your family forced you to go to school and all that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I used to tell the story about how all the revolutionaries in my area at one time, we used to have these meetings, and big strong guys coming in, they got dashikis on and staffs and all that kind of stuff. And then at some point somebody may say, hey, at what point should your enemy teach your children? And everybody would say, never, never, never. And them same guys get up in the morning and take their children to school. I'm saying, it's because you are a part and parcel to the game. And the game is designed so that at any particular point, they can apply whatever program they want. They can do whatever they want. Like COVID was a game.
Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying? Fauci was like Mengele. Fauci to Trump and Obama and them. He that was Mengele and Hitler, right? So we ain't even playing in that game. The game is just playing us, doing whatever. So they stop people. Yeah, I had this thing because in one of the shows we're gonna talk about it. I said you've been zoomed.
You've been zoomed.
You've been zoomed.
Zoomed.
Yeah, because
I'm talking about like the time everybody just went.
No, I'm saying the actual technology, the Zoom technology.
Yeah, like the software, right?
Yes, you've been zoomed.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't allow you to have the kinetic experience of interchange or exchange with human beings anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So everybody's quick to do Zoom. They done got all lazy and crazy.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And won't fight to get to each other. It used to be a time, man, look, we used to travel all over. We get in a car, a van, or whatever, things that were important. We went to see people.
Yeah. It's sad, too.
It's even sadder than that because you're not in reality.
No. Then you get your background. You can be wherever you want to be.
And then you are advertising what you're doing anyway because the platform, it don't belong to you.
Yeah.
The platform belongs to the CIA and the FBI. Google, you know what I'm saying, belongs to the system.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So they can extract information. They can watch what people are doing with the,
Telling all your insight. And that's what they want it to be. They don't want you to be able to have a place where you gather, right? And share information. Right?
You've been zoomed.
They say, we're going to let them do all that. They're going to think it's secret. They're going to have a secret little codes to get in. They sitting there the whole time listening to all this stuff. And you just.
But let me tell you how profound that is.
Mm-hmm.
You go to the bank to open up an account.
Yeah.
Now, the end result is that you leave with a debit card, right?
Yeah.
Right? And yeah, but the mechanism by which they control your money, they give you the illusion when they bring up the card and then they put it in the machine and then they turn it around to you and they look away and say you can put your pin here.
Yeah, I look at that. The stupidest thing, they be looking at all that. They got the cameras right there. They got everything already in
But you putting it in their system.
Right.
So this whole hacking thing and all this kind of stuff, you understand, is a cycle.
It's them doing that.
Yeah.
They set it up so you can you need to secure this more, add another second option to it,
Yeah.
and they just getting more information out of you. To that point, most people don't know this, but I think people should make themselves very aware of this. When you do put your money in banks, and I'm not saying not to go put your money in banks, so like I said, take it for how you want it, but just take this wisdom that's going to come from it, from those that are listening. Once you put it in there, now we already know they already do this already in most banks. If you put, let's say you put $100,000 in the bank, right? And they say, we secure up to $250,000, so you put $100,000, you're good, right? Once you put it in there, right? And say if you did have a savings account, you say, all right, out of that $100,000, take $10,000, put it in savings, and by the end of the year, I'll probably get at most 1%, maybe less than that. And they say, oh, you're doing good. But then they take all your money and cycle it around
And spend it
give somebody else spend your money. So
Right.
then, when you ask, because you go to that bank the next day, so you know what? I decided to take my money out. They're gonna tell you, well, we're gonna have to wait up to 48 hours, or we're gonna have to get authorization to get this.
To get your
I just put this in
own money.
yesterday because they don't have your money. They done sent your money around the world somewhere.
Look, and for people who really need to understand, when you go buy a house, they don't have no money for you.
No.
It's just your signature that guarantees that you be responsible for the what you call that, the interest.
Yeah.
Because it's the interest is the only money. It's the money you generate.
Right. That's the money that they.
But they ain't got no. You ain't gonna go into the bank and say, "Hey, give me $300,000 so I want to get it so I can give it to this person."
Mm-hmm.
They got a mechanism by which they transfer the idea
Yeah.
of money, because money is an idea,
Yep.
right? And they're so good at it, they done sophisticated it to the extent where you just give your money up. Now you gotta that same $100,000 you talking about.
Mm-hmm.
Once you put it in there, you can't even use it the way you want to use it.
Nope.
That's just like the 401k.
And it penalize you try to take that.
Man,
That 20%. You gotta wait till you're 59 and a half. I think that's going up. And you probably die before you get.
so what's the question? The facetious question we asking?
The question is, when slavery was over.
Now if you put a question mark,
Right.
when slavery was over,
When slavery was over? Right. So sarcastically. Yeah.
you know what I'm saying? All of these things I'm showing you.
Mm-hmm.
My idea was to take some from here, some from there, some from there, because by the end of this, we're not gonna leave any stone unturned. Because then the question is, so you still think so you still think you're free?
Mm-hmm.
But we showing you don't control nothing.
No.
Freedom is the ability to create to determine your own destiny. You can't make no currency. One of the things with the African Hebrew Israelites that they had a problem with was that at one point we had templates for our own currency. They ain't gonna tell y'all this. But that's when all hell broke loose, because to dabble into currency is a act of war.
Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying? And we was right there.
It's an act of war for real, because
It's an act of
you talk
war.
about now people starting to, like you said, what's going on right now with BRICS and the
But they playing it at the highest level
Mm-hmm.
with everybody's permission. It ain't like there's a war, like a war relative to currency. It's a jousting. It's a game.
Who has control?
Who has control? Whose currency? Because the person Well, all the way up until this point, the major currency has been the U.S. dollar.
Yeah.
You know, and the closest thing to it was the English pound, right? Now people are questioning whether to go with one or go with the other, right? But they ain't really wrong about that. Because they knew these things was gonna change, because it's all a game. you want your medium of exchange to be that. You can only hold that for a while, you know. So they know that's that. The number one thing for the Eurocentric world is the reality that people are losing faith in the idea.
So do you think that's why they are trying to, well, not trying, they've been doing it, right? With this, and I go back to that political thing, because at least for most people that just stay in this box here, they get caught into that, and they think something's going to change, right? Where they like, hey, they're going to fix this problem, they're going to fix that problem, right? But they, behind the scenes, rubbing elbows and laughing, just like, look at these people, just look at them, right? And, but their idea, they know their idea is changing, because you got people that are now questioning the things which they say, how did they figure this out? They thought they had it, you know, even to the point when we talk about slavery. They never...
Well, we've been talking about slavery the whole time. We got to let them know that.
Yeah.
Because the idea is to show them that they are not free.
Yeah.
Right? So go ahead. I just want
to that point, they never thought that us as a people will be able to like do what we're doing now, which is a sense of freedom, right? Just like if I can let you be an NFL player, right? Or a basketball player, and you getting all these millions, right? At least you think. And your time there is probably short, right? You might not be there for long unless you one of what they consider the greats that may be sold out, whatever. But on that field, you still a slave working. I'm still the one that owns all this, but I ain't do nothing to get this. But you're making me money.
That's right.
And it's the same thing, no matter where you work in the 9 to 5, you are working, and they say they're giving you, which we know is a reserve note, meaning it's a debt, and you're gonna work to pay off our debt that we have, and we're gonna put on this illusion that America is the richest nation in the world, but it's in debt trillions of dollars to China and various places.
Well, because the money, at some point, the money stopped being backed by gold. Mm-hmm. That's been a while. And so, so you saying you sending Ukraine $1 billion. Ukraine ain't getting $1 billion. They ain't going to the bank and drawing that money out or whatever. That illusion is spoken for in the context of war. Mm-hmm. So what does it mean when you giving somebody $50 billion for some arms? That means there's a situation where there are arms somewhere that now have to get to a specific place.
Yeah, this we're invested in this because we gotta keep up our bottom line.
You got to keep up, and this is what I'm saying. The greatest fear for the Eurocentric world is that people don't believe in them anymore. And white people don't even like the world that they built. Because at a certain point, they come into terms with the fact that they live in a world that's been manipulating everybody, including them. It's like the interesting thing is that somebody amasses $1 billion, right? Mm-hmm. Now you can't go in the bank and get that money.
No.
You can't go. So you don't know. At least one thing you know, if you up in that echelon, you know it ain't there. So somewhere somebody's doing some calculation and moving some digits around to give you the illusion that it's $1 billion right there.
Yeah.
But we had a very good example, of black people living a lie and being damned by it. When Kyrie Irving's money went down, Kanye's money went down.
Yeah.
And it was a bunch of people whose money went down and people just made it disappear. However they did it, one day he was a billionaire, next
And
day,
then just go, like, you just go in my pocket and take my money.
and then you don't have it. Because Manifest Destiny, which is the rock of Eurocentric development and Eurocentric progress, all of that. It means that you can go to the dictionary all you want, but that's not the definition. The definition is simply, it means because I said so. Ain't no God that backs that up. The only thing that backs that up is the military-industrial complex. So they can say, because I said so, they can send police, they can send the FBI, they can send CIA, they can create whatever they like.
So
But-
speaking to that,
But it's because I said so.
so with this whole thing, and I know we talked about Knoxville before, this whole thing that's going on right now, right, in Gaza, right, and man, like, I don't know how people will have morality at all to justify some things. But if I use that same strategy and say they have a right to defend themselves, but we don't have a right to defend ourselves. In no way. I mean, I'll just forget, we can't talk about your history anymore because it's going to open up wounds and we're trying to heal as a nation. But they say never forget.
Yeah, but that heal as a nation is some bull crap too.
Yeah.
Because most of the nation don't even believe that Israel should be doing what it's doing.
Exactly.
So it's not actually Israel doing it.
It's the Zionist state. And Amiel was Nazi, like you said.
You understand? So because the people, they have another idea. And the problem is they have loyalty to Israel, but they don't have the loyalty to Netanyahu. But the problem is that the way the political structure is set up, he's allowed to do whatever he wants to do, even though he's a criminal. But they'll tell you that Israel is a democracy. But what did I say the definition of democracy was?
You said the definition of democracy is really a sentiment of control. It's a false illusion of freedom.
But the very basic is that it's corruption.
And control.
Well,
Because, I mean, when you ask about Tanzania, right, or Tanzania, why is, I can't say for the whole, but when we go to certain parts of the continent and they have accepted some form of it, maybe not in totality.
some form of what?
Because it's corrupt, it causes corruption where there's not much development because they're getting this money from somewhere.
They're getting it from where all the rest of them are getting it from the IMF, World Bank, or whatever, or whoever's colonizing them.
Everybody else.
Right. So the thing is, that money, there have been generations who have been taking advantage of that money, and it's never trickled down to the people
They never do.
in terms of development and creating wholesome environments and wholesome food and I mean, making sure everybody has health, their health issues are met and all of that kind of stuff. It ain't for that. I'm gonna read you something from a quote from the latest.
And after you read that, we're gonna take a commercial break.
Yeah.
And then we'll be right back. So go ahead and
From-
read that, and then
From the latest.
we'll expound on that once we get back.
Yeah, from the latest Tom Cruise movie, in that cycle of Mission Impossible,
Uh-huh.
Dead Reckoning. So Mission Impossible, the latest installment is called Dead Reckoning, all right? And this is number one quoted excerpt from the dialogue, the conversation, right? Eugene Kittredge, he was CIA, FBI, or whatever that was, running the his aspect of espionage or whatever. But he says, your days of fighting for the so-called greater good are over. This is our chance to control the truth. The concepts of right and wrong for everyone for centuries to come. You're fighting to save an ideal that doesn't exist.
So with that, let that stick in your head, because I'm going to ask him to expound on that. And then I also have a question to that, too, because it was something that was said in The Matrix. It kind of speaks to that as well.
It was in the last one, right? Yeah.
So, right after these commercial breaks, we'll be right back. Stay tuned and make sure you like, share, and subscribe to the channel. We have more to come.
All right.
Can you tell how many people are listening for that from your computer?
So, you usually can see how many people are live at the time. And then keep projecting, and then keep kind of like with the algorithm. So depending on the topic, especially at the time right now, political time, you put anything addressing politics, it's gonna get a lot more hits because people are looking for information. So for this, we're talking about slavery, right? Somebody probably said, okay, this ties in with reparations, so if it's reparations, gonna come up in that same thing. So if I highlight that and put hashtag reparation, then
A lot of people start.
yeah. So now we got a number of 10 people viewing coming in and out, and then throughout the day we're gonna progress. So if I was able to send this out earlier, alert to let people know that we'll be live today, and since it was like a spur of the moment, like most people are gonna watch it on the back end.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's how it works. Cause that's how we working on with our other channel with that. We try to engage more, put out community posts, ask questions like, what do you want to hear, what do you want to talk about, and then ask this question about the content. You know, a lot of people are looking towards the content they want to know before I go or before I visit. So,
You have to make sure you give me the link again so I can put it up. Because you can put it up on YouTube, right? It's a nice song. It's a nice song, whatever you get.
that's one of our commercials.
Where did you get the song?
YouTube has this thing where you can get copyright free music and you can play it on any of your licenses. Then they also have some that you can purchase as well. So it's a whole bunch of different artists that are posting different songs and beats, Afro beats. You type in what you need, you're looking for, instrumental, and they come up.
The Valley Balance is international. Did you know? Every purchase you make with us, a percentage of the revenue goes towards
Oh, yeah,
radio
thank you.
jobs
No, I said you need to be woman.
Well, it tastes so good. Thank you.
All right. We are back live again. We left off with a quote, and in that quote, it was something that was said that we want Prince to expound upon. So if you could read that last segment of it again, and kind of refresh your mind on what was said.
This is from the latest installment of the Mission Impossible movies. And it's called Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning. It's a quote by one of the characters in the movie who was at a high level. He says, "Your days for fighting for the so-called greater good are over. This is our chance to control the truth, the concepts of right and wrong for everyone for centuries to come. You're fighting to save an ideal that doesn't exist."
Please expound on that.
Okay, so we always talk about morality, right? We're always talking about good and what's benevolent. Well, the thing about having power over peoples and peoples of the earth is the instrument of definition, having the power to define. If you remember in a movie with that came out, it was called what was that movie? That was where they had the stockholders and all that kind of stuff. It was a whole thing on, I'm trying, Douglas was his name, right?
Wall Street.
Huh? Wall Street. Wall Street. If you remember when he was talking to his stockholders, he was all pumped up and everything. He said that he wanted the people to know that greed is good. So now everybody's greedy. But that's the power to define. That means that you can determine what a word means. You can determine what a concept means, and you have the means to market and promote it. So after that Wall Street scenario, it was no holds barred. After he made that statement in the movie, that greed is good. And the reason why I'm going back there is because we keep talking about morals and values and principles, and we keep talking about we want to be good and we want to do each other right, and that kind of thing. We're known for that, for the concept of morality. But to white people, it's just a concept. Heck no. If they believed it, then it would reflect that. But the whole world reflects that they don't believe that. Because they believe greed is good. And they believe by any means necessary to sustain the status quo. And that's the bottom line. So how do you get around that? Again, we asked the question from the beginning, which is what?
When was slavery over?
Huh?
When slavery was over?
So you finally got it. The slavery was over?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? We're looking at this thing called morality. We're looking at this thing called God or spirituality. They don't believe in any of that. They give the illusion, because when they do movies like The Godfather and all that, you see them going to church. Right? Christening their babies and all this kind of stuff, and then they leave and go out and kill 12.5 people, massacring and all of that. Right? You see them celebrating like in Kenosha, when the little white boy had the gun, and the army, the soldiers was rooting them on. But they always rooting these white boys that kill people. They're always rooting them on.
Yeah.
They're heroes. I'm telling you, because all of them guys is gonna be in the CIA or FBI or whatever, because they've already demonstrated that they can do the work.
And to that point, it was a good illustration somebody gave. They showed, 3 black males, right? And then the thing that was shown that all of them were killed by police or whoever, right? And it said they murdered no one, right? They had no weapons, and they got shot multiple times. So then you have the white male who just killed a dozen people. If they don't kill themselves, they get taken to like a Burger King to feed them before they get taken in, and they get arrested. And it just, the thing is, there was something mentally wrong. But with us, it's the narrative, and it's to the point where our people don't realize that, like you mentioned, it is systematic, because they cheer that on.
They don't consider that they children who are doing that stuff are mentally ill. That's the point. The point is, everybody's believing in this thing called democracy, like it's a fair, just, and equitable world, like it's a moral world. I want to read something to you, right, out of the Bible. I use a Schofield Reference Bible because Schofield was he just wasn't an intellect. He was a linguist. He was a scientist and all that. So I do the 1965 version of the Schofield Reference Bible because he has exhaustive notes.
Okay.
Right? So in the 13th chapter of Revelations, he has notes where he's talking about the world. In the 13th chapter, the 8th verse, it says, "And all who dwell upon the earth shall worship him, whose names are not written in the book of life of the Lamb slain by the foundation of the world." The foundation. Now, it says, those who worship him. The word in Hebrew for worship is to work. Those who work for him. And foundations in Hebrew is musad, which means institutions. So when you read it, it said that those who shall worship him, whose names are not written in the book of life of the Lamb is the truth, slain from the institutions of the world. Right? Because foundations are institutions. So that means the institutions ain't working for you. They're working for the devil. Right? Now listen to what it says in the footnotes. It says, world summary. In the sense of the present world system, the ethically bad sense of the word refers to the order or arrangement under which Satan has organized the world of unbelieving mankind on its cosmic principles of force, greed, selfishness, ambition, and pleasure. The world system is imposing, powerful, with military might, and is often outwardly religious, scientific, cultured, and elegant, but seething with national and commercial rivalries and ambitions, and is upheld in any real crisis only by armed forces and is dominated by satanic principles.
He just sums up everything we've been talking about.
This is what I'm saying. This is the world you live in. Democracy is corruption. Why is the first 5 letters DEMON? All you gotta do is break the word down. And it's right in front of our faces. And the ick on the end is saying, and it is. Demon is demon, ick. Or, like they use the word Jewish, right? Demonic. Right? So, we're all a part and a partial of the development and the expanding of the world of evil and corruption. When you study most of these nations and you break them down as to the 10 most serious things that they're dealing with, almost all of them have corruption at the top. They've been trying to do a lot. India's been trying to do a lot of stuff with America. They got so many. Yeah, millions of Indians here. I'm talking about from East Indian, from India, Pakistan, all them places, right?
Yeah.
Their number one thing on the list is corruption. When you go to Ghana, you look at the list of the things, 10 most things that are plaguing these nations. Number 1 or number 2 is corruption. And all of them call themselves democratic.
Yeah.
So we got to come to terms with the truth. Democracy has nothing to do with morality.
It never did.
It never did.
And that's why it's running rapid how it is now. Because it's everything that opposes morality. Life itself. And then this hypocrisy in its biggest...
At its highest form.
Kill. Is to destroy. Everything that the essence of kill, steal, and destroy. Divide all of that.
That's right. That's democracy.
And it impacts our people the most because the family household, the structure of man and women, the structure of a child being born that, the Most High gives life to anything.
I'm glad you said that. Because the number one statistic in war is that more children get killed than anything.
Mm-hmm.
And so I always ask the question, are you sure that they weren't the target? Because when you go back in history, children have been used all throughout history. The whole concept of what they call them thing, when you put the children in the homes with the orphanages. Man, that is where they recruit soldiers. They they can mold and shape these children to be whatever they want. Trafficking, all that. That's why all that exists, because it's all geared toward children. So like in Gaza, they're trying to kill all the children.
Yeah, that's a lot of that you've seen. There's a lot of children.
Yeah, but I'm saying that's everywhere. Everywhere there's war, children are the object. They not a casualty like that. That's what they want to say. They use the term collateral damage to make you think that it's a mistake to kill some children. It's not a mistake if it's policy. That's military. That's military procedure to kill children and innocent people.
Yeah.
That's how it works.
And that's how they train.
I'm telling
You
you.
see a child, kill them. They dangerous.
Well, and then let's look back at Israel, because they were saying, well, the people came across our border, killed our children, our young people, or whatever, and they were saying that we have to wipe them all out because their children may come back and start something later on. Ain't nobody hearing that. So they're talking out of both sides of their mouths. And one hand, they're saying, or they're being pushed by people to say, hey, we're going to do the ceasefire. We're going to negotiate this. We're going to negotiate that. But they've been negotiating so long that it's not even a point.
Yeah. You done most of the damage.
You done, and you keep doing it, because while you discussing a ceasefire, you ain't ceasing the fire.
Mm-hmm.
Why? Because, and some of the leaders have said that. They said we're not going to stop until they all gone.
Like,
Now I'm trying to figure out who they listening to, because the leaders are telling you. Netanyahu and them are telling you, we are not going to stop till they all wiped out. And then they got plans for Gaza.
Yep.
You understand?
They're forcing their own prophecy.
They have been the whole time, man.
Mm-hmm.
This ain't some thing they just made up. This is an ancient reality.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? So it's like, and then we figure into it because we got people who are masquerading as us, and the reason why they get away with it is because it looks like that they're being taken advantage of.
You see how skillful that is, where all of the negativity that they're doing, and then when things begin to, in a sense, settle, and there certain people that's now identifying themselves as their actual history being joined back together to their identity, then we blame for what took place all those times, and then they disappear somehow. Oh, Israel did this and did that. Israel did this and did that, and they gonna blame it on us. It nothing new under the sun.
Man, I'm just telling you.
They do all the dirt had the hand.
And we're looking up now, and everybody, all the so-called intelligent black people are complaining right now, because they are looking around and they're seeing that nothing is being done by their ilk.
Mm.
Nothing. You done seen a whole cadre of black talking heads. They keep popping up every day on the news, talking about white people business. They ain't got nothing to say about black people.
Mm-mm.
Cause they don't work for black people.
Yeah, they blocking bills. They blocking the thing that just happened. They pulled the bill that California put forth by reparation. Now this is me. I know they can't pay us back, because like you said, they got the money. They got to find somewhere else to get it, right? Because it's all means of war. But for the most part, is that it makes it worse when I won't even say I'll say the gatekeepers, right? That intentionally do stuff that hinders progression for us. Now, when I say this progression, I ain't talking about the progression that they're doing. Their progression is
No.
better. Our progression is getting out of this state of this cycle we
Okay,
stay in.
now that's democracy. And you the problem. Because you voted.
I don't vote.
No,
I know.
You voted for that.
Yeah.
That illusion, which is exclusion. You voted for that. You put your energy in. You put your name on the dotted line.
Are people not realizing that? And I actually want to have my family, because it's like these discussions, not to just be talking about it, but really like get to the root. Like you said, we're talking about it right now, and y'all keep voting for this stuff. And I know it's all a game in itself, right? To get people to think that they're actually doing something, right? And they say, "Oh, our ancestors died." You know, kind of like the thing that everybody getting on Ice Cube, the thing he said back in, I think, 2020. Everybody's getting on that, and they trying to make him seem like he said something. He said, "Our people didn't die for us to vote. It's just a wicked person out there that killed them because they were standing up for the rights that they were trying to get. But they didn't go out there intentionally saying, I'm about to go die for you to vote."
Right. They didn't say that.
And I have the same right to make a choice. It's not to
All of that's coloration after the fact. All of that's commentary after the fact. There's people looking at something later on and colorizing it however it's necessary to get their point across.
Yeah.
That's the danger of psychology.
Boy, they doing me well on this.
That's the danger of too much talking.
Mm-hmm.
Because people think talking is doing.
Yep.
It's not.
Yep.
Talking is talking.
Just like somebody say, "Oh, look, we talking right now," but they don't know that we actually putting in work.
Well, let's talk about the work that we put in. That's in my book.
Okay. And about that, for you guys that don't know, Prince has his second book that is out. So if you have not had a chance to get a copy, please do so. It's on Amazon. Prince can talk about it. It's called Freedom. You just type in Prince Amiel on in Amazon, and you can order your copy today. So go forth and support our elder here and get to read about not only what we're talking about right now, but the progression of wisdom that comes from it.
Right.
And so he has one of his books as well. This book that he has in his hand currently right now is called War, Destiny, Freedom. But the book that he has, that he just released, what was it? What day did you release this one? The second one?
November 2023.
November 2023. So it's been out for a year. But if you want to get you a hard copy, go forth and get you one, so you can have some more information on the things we're talking about right now, and as Prince is currently sharing with us. So yeah, so get that copy. Get a copy of Freedom by Prince Amiel, and you guys will be greatly informed on what we're talking about, because I think that's the thing. People don't really read either nowadays. Everything is by ear, but they don't read to confirm. They don't read
to confirm. So I give them something to affirm.
Okay.
Because I have a different experience than most black people.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? We actually did go get freedom.
Yeah.
And we literally had to go.
I don't think people know what you mean by it, though.
Well, I'm going to explain it.
Yeah, go ahead.
In the 60s, when we were having these conversations, Pan-Africanists, revolutionaries, whatever.
Right.
Some of us were serious. And I know I grew up thinking that if white people could run the world, we could run it, because we used to run our own worlds before they showed up. And then the concept of a unified continents and all that, that was white people's idea. That wasn't black people's idea.
Right.
Because we were tribal. Right? So now that it's here, we look at the geopolitical world. Now, that's what you mean by the geopolitical world. Everything that goes on in the whole world.
Right.
So now, we're a player in that world based upon the fact that we created our own nation. Right?
Mm-hmm.
So we were serious. And we were so serious that the FBI at one point, they sent a letter and said that we were the smartest black people that they had ever encountered. Well, I used to counter that and say we weren't necessarily the smartest, but we were the most pissed off.
Right.
And we weren't going to take it no more.
Yeah.
So the synergy of that kind of people with that kind of sentiment, that was the fire that led us to come out of the plantation, which was America. Because the whole of America wasn't a plantation. It wasn't just isolated, because we were locked into, as slaves, we were locked as slaves into a concept of slavery. Chattel slavery, that's why you were talking about the football players. That's the auction block.
Yeah.
You hear them buying and trading guys all the time. Baseball, football, basketball. And recently, in the basketball realm, they told the top basketball player to shut up and bounce the ball.
Yeah. LeBron.
But recently, a top guy in the football realm said that black football players are dumb. Well, the only reason why they're dumb is because they're still young.
They get them while they're not really much educated. They get them out of there fast.
This is what I'm saying. What you going to know at 20, 23, 24, 25 years old? What you going to know? You don't know nothing about the world. You might have got your degree or something or whatever, but you ain't operating in it.
A degree in basket weaving.
right. But at least a degree in basket weaving, you were actually creating something.
But you know most people don't retain that.
Well, I'm just saying. I'm just saying.
I know what you mean.
You know that because at some point we're going to have to talk about this reality of being manipulated to not do things that are creative, that are of value.
Right.
Because you said it earlier, a lot of people are living off of other people's value. This world is living off of our value.
Yeah.
We're not living off of their value. They're giving us some little trinkets or whatever. But if they're giving you $500,000 a year as a CEO, how much you think they're making?
Yeah.
So, the plantation was America. We had to prove that we could go somewhere else. Now, it ain't like we went somewhere where it's softer.
Yeah.
You understand? We went right into the pit of the center of geopolitical politics on the planet, which is Israel. Right?
Before y'all went to Israel, y'all had that hard stop in Liberia.
Well, we did that on purpose.
Okay.
We went to Liberia because we were astute enough and spiritual enough to understand that we didn't need to take some of the ignorance that we had been perpetuating over here,
I had to get
over there.
Yeah.
So we took 2.5 years in the bush. Wasn't no McDonald's, wasn't no 7-Eleven, you know what I'm saying? Wasn't hardly no hospitals and all of that kind of stuff. No, man, a third of the people came back because it wasn't those things there.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? We was up in the bush. You know, snakes, mamba snakes, which is Kobe's named after, and driver ants that can be 6 inches long. And they travel by the hundreds of thousands and millions. When you see them coming, sound like trains. You know, and we had to live through all that. But what that gave us was the wherewithal to go on, finish the trek, get back to the promised land.
Right.
Dr. King didn't say we get to Israel. He said we get to the promised land. So we landed in the promised land. It happened to be Israel because they put the name of Israel on the map in 1948.
Right.
But there was no nation called Israel.
Never.
You understand what I'm saying? So they knew we were going to come, but they didn't know how we were going to come. And we came strong. And they made some major geopolitical moves trying to stop us, you know. And that's a whole nother story. But the reason why I'm going to read this excerpt in this book is because the people did not know how far we got in our development to be able to say that we were a nation. Now, one of the things, when Julius Nyerere did the first Pan-African conference in Addis Ababa, right?
Mm-hmm.
There were over 300 delegates, so-called delegates from America, black people, all the who's who, the revolutionaries, intellects, all of them came. We came from Israel. So when they came to sign up for their credentials, right, they told them that they couldn't sign up. The 300 who came from America told them they couldn't sign up because they didn't represent America. But we got ours based upon the fact that they recognized that we had a nation. So none of the people from America could really participate in the conference except us. We just happened to come from America, but we built our own nation.
Right.
So we had to leave the plantation to be able to sit here and say to the people, look, we left the plantation so that we could show you that we could have freedom, we could have it at our, however we wanted to lay it out, however we wanted to define it, and we achieved that. It didn't mean it was easy,
Right.
because it's still wrought with all kind of stuff. But if we achieve the freedom, and I say it like this sometimes, if you get up in the morning and everybody's trying to cross the street and they can't cross the street because they're getting hit by cars and buses and trucks, so everybody's just standing on the side. But you see a guy come out of his house, he walked directly across the street like it ain't nothing. No.
Yeah, how you get over there?
That's the question they should ask. But they're not asking us.
You know what it is? It's because it's a narrative out there too. And some may be saying that right now, how could they consider that freedom where they're still getting treated in a certain way to be there?
We ain't starving. We ain't starving, and we there on our own terms. We're there on our own terms.
See?
Now, if we want to ask somebody for money, we may ask for money because it's on our terms.
Right.
We're building our world. We're not building theirs.
Yeah.
So whatever they don't do, that's what they're supposed to do.
Mm-hmm.
Because we represent a free people. So we knew when we went, we was going to have to deal with all of that. And we was going to have to deal with how people define us based upon most of the time what they don't know.
Yeah, that's
What somebody tells them or whatever. But somebody like me who's around and I can tell you exactly what happened, I'm going to read this excerpt from this book so you can see we just didn't go over there and become Israelis or whatever. We went over there to establish a nation. Now, there are some people, and I don't mind we getting in debates or y'all can call me and do whatever. The process, nothing escapes the law of process. So now, if I have an apple seed and I plant the seed, right?
Right.
I'm looking forward to that juicy apple, right?
Yeah.
But I ain't gonna see that apple in 4 or 5 years based upon the process,
What it takes.
right? So now we're 60 years in, right?
Yeah.
So now here we are. We've achieved some things in the process of freedom because we're not finished.
Because it's continuous work.
It's a continuous work. A lot of people don't understand that. So they want to judge us based upon their lack of understanding.
Yeah. Our people can't wait for nothing. We never had that in our mindset. Even when it comes to investments.
Yeah, they
We need
think
right now.
it's to happen right overnight.
Yeah.
But nothing escapes law of process, no matter what you think.
Yeah.
There's an inherent reality called process. You don't see, like if you build a fence, right? You don't see rust growing, do you?
No.
You know, later on down the line somewhere, you checking the fence, you say, did you see this rust right here? Or even for your own car. All of a sudden you see a rust spot. But you ain't noticing it until it became absolutely prevalent in your consciousness. Right? So our people perceive things with an errant perception. Because first of all, they don't understand process. They don't like process. You know what I'm saying?
Only process I don't like is processed meats and foods. The process you're talking about, yeah.
Yeah,
I
man.
had to learn the patience too.
Man, that's why the scriptures say, in your patience possess ye your soul. Because some things you have to wait for. But even waiting is a part of the process. Patience is a part of the process. You got to have patience, or you wear yourself out, or you wear somebody else out, or you wear the concept out. Now, but the proof is in the doing, not just the talking. It's in the doing. So we never said we was better than anybody else. The only thing that because when we left up out here with all kind of people. There was Muslims, Moors, there was gays, lesbians. I mean, we didn't know till later on.
Right.
But they all get their credit for putting their hand to the handle. Because it took all of us to pull it off. Because we had a system of what you call all things in common. You know what I'm saying? That it was really a community reality. And we learned to depend on each other, you know, to watch out for each other, to protect each other, whatever. Right? So, I just ask you to hear this, and anybody wants me to come and talk about it, or even if they want to debate me on the psychology and the sociology or the geopolitics of the situation.
You got all the time in the world.
So, as we forged on to continue to develop that which we set up 50 years ago, we pray that our children grow to understand the gravity and the importance of our actions to free ourselves and them from the negative things we were experiencing in our everyday life and time. Many of the things that we considered of paramount importance to our well-being and safety couldn't be communicated at that time, mainly because we were still attempting to figure things out. The work of community development, financing ourselves, finding answers for our social problems, vetting as many of those who joined us as possible, forcing Israel to deal with us as the returned nation of Israel, sniffing out the infiltrators, and doing commerce, to name a few. We were swamped and busy. Even though I was concerned with taking stock of our development periodically, it was rejected. Now, I'm showing you in this process now.
All that's going on.
You know what I'm saying? If I don't be who I am, I'd have been discouraged like a lot of people discouraged later on only because they didn't understand the process.
Yeah. The ups and downs, the ebbs and flows of it.
Huh?
It's ups and downs and the ebbs and flows.
Oh, man. I'm telling you.
Yeah.
It says, even though, let me see. Oh, okay. At one point, I proposed no further development or opening of new missions or business concerns, no elevations until we had a year of rebooting. This is what I entered into the equation. So the book, it's based on reality,
Right.
right? It said a year of rebooting, freshening, and renewing, auditing our nation, our sovereign, our kingdom seemed to be the right thing to do to me. All of this was categorically rejected. We did suffer because of it. I can't wait to read this in public. It said we were concerned about our lives of our children's lives, our state of being, and the state of the world. We came to terms with the fact that anything that looked like progress for our people in America and around the world was all smoke and mirrors. This unjust social system, war, called democracy, is the land of the deceived and the home of slaves. Yes, there are many forms of slavery. There's chattel slavery, economic slavery, psychological slavery, physical slavery, mental slavery, intellectual slavery. So we all have had a head start to thanks. We all have. We've all have had to start thanks for the myriad forms of slavery. We all had to come to terms with the myriad forms of slavery. Once we used to enter the school system at 5 years old, known as kindergarten. Kindergarten is a German word that literally means the garden of the children, or that you grow children to grow your nation. This was a preschool education approach traditionally based on playing, singing, practical activities such as drawing and social interaction as part of the transition from home to school. Let me see.
I like that little statement. He said, the home of the deceived and the land of slaves.
Right. I want to. Okay. Now, y'all really had to pay attention to this because a lot of times, and you said it earlier, a lot of times we do so much talking. So nobody talks about what they actually do in terms of freedom, right? But what I'm getting ready to relate to everybody now is our doing, not just our talking. We did our talking in America.
Yeah.
We left from talking to doing.
Yeah.
And we literally had to fight most of the security services on the planet. MI5, CIA, FBI, Mossad, you name it, they were all arrayed to keep us from doing this, because us doing this was tantamount to us developing an alternative world, which they were supposed to have damaged us to the point that we wouldn't do this. Right? Mm-hmm. Now listen to what we did. Now, but I'm showing you all the stuff that goes into developing. When you look at how busy the world is, That's how busy we were.
Right. You got time to be.
Mm-mm. No, not at all. So we said, the people said we were reserved for the insane asylum. But that's our own people, right? We weathered that storm. What a life to pursue. So those motivating lyrics from Major Harris. Is this okay? Yeah, I was getting ready to go into a whole nother thing. Okay, here it is. Yeah. I now take the time to finally look at the many victories we didn't have time to celebrate, or didn't even know we had achieved, and or at least to savor them for the first time. Also, I reflect on the challenges that we faced on this journey. To not include the challenges we faced and are still facing would do us and all of those involved a great disservice. You must know the extent to which our adversaries tried to stop this great event. And I'm going to say this again. I'm going to say it periodically. Look at how busy the world is. Look at how noisy it is. Look at all the activity that's going, whether it's good activity or bad activity or whatever. We couldn't escape that in building our world.
It was a Nehemiah situation.
Yeah, and so we built the wall because we had a mind to work, right?
Right. Good. Hammer in one hand and the axe in the
And the sword in the other hand.
Yeah.
Yeah, Ephesians, we had to deal with Ephesians. It said, we had to put on the whole armor
Yeah.
because we couldn't leave nothing unprotected. And even in that, how much could you protect? I mean, there was a time when we were growing food in a place that was an apartment when we first got there called a Shikun, and around the periphery they had planters, like pots, connected to the walls and everything, and we put food in there, and then somebody would poison the food.
Wow.
See, the story ain't been told.
No.
We just didn't go over there and have a good time. We were at war.
At war.
And listen what we did with war. It says, so for the first time, for the first book is called is the celebration, because I have paused to take a moment to make an account and to take stock of the journey. So full of wonder and surprise, I do so realizing that the whole journey was replete with its constant challenges and danger, and could not have been avoided.
I have a question for you. There's a question that was prompted in the comments. It was asked, are you aware of what is happening right now with with Chairman Amiel? I don't know if you are aware of who that is. He's the chairman of the Yehudu community.
Yeah.
Are you aware of like the current thing that's happening right now with them right now?
You can tell me.
So the same groups, FBI, CIA, all of them, they invaded their property, right? And they're doing the same thing which you guys been talking about, like about the liberty, because Yehudu means freedom, liberty, freedom, right? That's why and so they've been on the same trajectory as you guys, more on the side of maybe the African side of it, but it's still all together. It goes into what we all as a people have been trying to seek after, is that type of freedom. And so, of course, they put a narrative out there that they had some intel or joined in with Russia, to invade America in a way where they're using them to get certain information, intel. And so that whole lie has led them to be, pretty much, what's the word can I say? How can I say this? And you probably can say it a lot better than I could because you guys dealt with it, right? And they're currently dealing with it as well. But to the extent where I want to say this in a political way where it makes sense for the viewers as well. Imagine you're at home, minding your own business, right? Doing your business, right? And
I don't have to imagine.
Oh no, not imagine.
Because everything they're going through is what we went through.
Yeah,
right.
Remember what you went through. And like I said, Chairman Yesitella, he's the same age you guys. You know, he's in his 80s. Some of the people that work in the 70s, some people younger. And when, like I said, just not so much for me or you to imagine, because like I said, you've dealt with it, and I know a little bit of the history, and I'm looking and seeking to get more. But to be sitting, and then here comes smoke bombs and frag bombs and stuff like that, and different kind of ways to infiltrate, confiscate all your laptops, books, information,
that's right.
everything.
We went through all that.
And then to put the narrative that you're working with Russia.
Yeah, but that's what I said in the beginning. The most powerful thing for an occupier is to have the ability to define. He can say anything he likes.
To narrative.
Because he controls the media. All I'm saying to the people, don't go for it. You know what I'm saying? If you're going to listen to the same one who enslaved you to determine how you should see a thing, you know what I'm saying? That means you're psychologically handicapped. Why should you listen to the enemy about anything? Look, the Native Indians, and I use that loosely, which is us, because I found out that my family was Cherokee 5 years ago, right? And I used to ask, well, how did we get to Bermuda? Right? But when I traced it down, we came from the East Coast of America as Cherokees, and in them days they were sending Indians like slaves to work on plantations around the world. So we wound up there. But the Indians, who were us, right? We were the ones who said, white man speak with forked tongue. And don't nobody want to listen. Now you look at the conditions of us who are native to this particular land, and it don't look good. And it gets worse every day. Right? Even with their own casinos. You follow what I'm saying? Why would you listen to them anyway? Especially if you got somebody progressive and you're going to let them come in and say, well, hey, da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. That doesn't say anything about them. That's it. Huh?
Smack some heads, I think.
Huh?
We need to smack some heads because it's just... It's like that on the continent too, where it's not so much how we say here like the racism and stuff like that, but it's more a class where we letting another nation come in over us and control the narrative. And then when we go back to the continent, we looked at it as like, y'all done listen to what they told y'all about us, and y'all believe that. And not to say that we don't have our own problem.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I'm saying the enemy ain't the problem. They're doing what they're supposed to do. We ain't doing what we're supposed to do. I keep telling people all the time, it's less about what they're doing. It has to be more about what we're doing. We ain't doing. Now, when we were coming up, we were trying to unite with everybody. Anthony, we were trying to unite with everybody. Everybody. You know what I'm saying? Was shunning us like we were lepers. And then we get these victories, they don't want to celebrate with us or whatever because they didn't do it and all that kind of stuff. Man, look, I signed on to the nation because they had order and structure and had a plan.
And that's what most of our people see. They see that's the same thing you say.
And I'm saying, look, when they started having their problems, they should have came and consulted somebody like me. Because I could have helped them prepare for what was going on or whatever, and then created something to neutralize certain aspects of it. We've been through it, man. If I'm walking, if you can't get across the street, I'll walk straight across the street. It seemed like you should do what? You should have asked me how I did that. We sitting here with the information, you understand? Because we beat the system. Now let me tell you how deep we got into beating them, though. And then we can talk more about the brothers and the sisters, because I'm saying it ain't had to happen like that, man. I've been telling people ever since I've been back here, man, it's time for us to do for us. It's time for us to do for us. Everybody talk about it. And some people go out and try to create something. But they go out and try to create something in the absence of knowledge that's available. I'm talking about experiential knowledge.
Right.
We ain't making this up. Our stuff is in the history books. No, it ain't easy. It ain't been easy. After 460 years, man. And we pulled it off in 60 years, but anybody else who's going to be trying to do this stuff, they got 60 years ahead of them.
You need to reinvent the wheel.
But everybody's reinventing the wheel. And I'm saying, ain't nobody asking everybody to be Hebrews or be this or be whatever. We're asking you to be conscious about the fact that you are bringing your children to die in a world that don't belong to them. So let's go from the talking to the actualization, right? It says, now I take the time to finally look at the many victories we didn't have time to celebrate or didn't know we had achieved, or at least to savor them for the first time. Also, I reflect on the challenges. You must know the extent to which our adversaries tried to stop this event. Freedom. We created our own school system. It wasn't kindergarten. All the way to the college level, called the School of the Prophets. We created our own government, our own communities, vegan cookbooks, food line, clothing line, jewelry line, shoe line, entertainment institution, and sports institution featuring our version of the Olympics called the Rockameme Game. We had our own GDP, and for some of you who don't know these terminologies, GDP means gross domestic product. What are you selling to the world? And the GNP, gross national product, right? So you're talking about trade and commerce. We were doing this and still doing it to today. Said we had semi-pro baseball teams, basketball teams, track, gymnastics teams, many competing and winning national titles in Israel. Our musical entertainers are well known in Israel and Europe, competing and winning many competitions around the world. We have children, grandchildren born free, not knowing the slave existence in America. Not that there aren't challenges in Israel, but those challenges are nowhere near the hell we went through in the Americas. I tell this story for all to hear and to help our children understand through all of these challenges and pitfalls. We have a litany of books, tapes, other digital media delivering our original ideas and creations. We are represented all over the world, influencing millions of people, helping them conceptualize manifest destiny. What does manifest destiny mean? Because we said so.
We said so.
We are legends in our time, written about, talked about, loved, scorned, hated, and respected. Manifest destiny can be messy and confusing to those who do not understand the whats, the whys, the wheres, and the reasons for such focused, committed, and sometimes extreme behavior on our part. But I say to you all, in all humility, if it could have been done another way, we would have taken it. Remember, as I continue to remind you, we took the road never traveled. What we did had never been done before. If you don't realize anything else from this book, please know that what we did had never been done before. At times it was ambiguous, paradoxical, overt, covert, contradictory, dangerous, violent, and problem-ridden, but we kept it moving. I used to say, what would heaven or new world look like when you start to build it? My answer was, it would look like the hell you was coming out of. Only in the process of time and manifest vision would it begin to look new and better. With focus and commitment, it will begin to take shape. Nothing in the universe escapes the law of process. We had to be patient with ourselves. Now, this is like we was over there twiddling our thumbs. Man, we delivered our own children. We had our own delivery system called the Beit Caim. We delivered all our children. You understand what I'm saying? One of the things, there was a Jewish guy who wrote a book about Israel's penchant for innovation. When the guy came over here to do a tour, he talked about us. He said that the Hebrews were innovative like us. And so they came over here, they had their own health system. They were all vegans. They dealt with their own health, naturopathy, all of that kind of stuff. They would run and exercise and do all kinds of stuff.
At an older age, we're talking about 60 plus, running marathons.
This
good health.
is what I'm saying.
You know, because he's 25 years old.
And we was in southern Judea in the mountains. So we literally used to walk the mountains. That's different than walking on a sidewalk.
Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying? The point is, now you listen to that. We weren't just sitting there, we building a nation. But because our people didn't understand that, and they did the same thing that they doing to these brothers, they did the same thing to us. Talked about us like a dog. Our own people. And we going out there working for them. Yes, and working for their children. But we couldn't stop. We had to deal with it. If the people didn't believe in us or didn't want to do what we were doing or whatever, hey, we couldn't let that be an issue. It was more about what we wanted to do than what Europeans wanted to do. It was more about what we wanted to do than black people wanted to do in America. And if they would understand that we were not a religion, we were building a nation. The people came from all types of religions. They brought all kind of stuff in the nation. I say in the book, we had to process through all of that. So that means we had some great intellects and some people who had the wherewithal and the energy, you understand, to put all of this together. And when I came in, I put my hand to the handle and I settled down and I got into the thick of things. To be able to articulate today intelligently that we accomplished what we set out to do. Is it finished? No. But nothing escapes the law of process. It only is finished if we stop. And I can guarantee we ain't gonna stop. And what I say right now, that information you gave me, if they brave enough, then I'm asking them to send somebody to talk to me so I can talk to them and help them.
I'll put you in contact with.
Yeah, put them in contact. I'll go wherever they are. They ain't even got to come to me.
And they just south of us, St. Louis. So
They do what?
they're in St. Louis right now.
Okay, well, we need to go see them.
Yeah.
Let me know when.
Okay.
Because it's that time. We don't need to be fooling around.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Y'all got issues? Let's get together and talk about it. We got to go from problem to solution.
Yeah.
They ain't going through nothing that they didn't do to us.
Yeah.
They did the exact same thing. And they got our people to jack us up. So much so that I was one of the top lecturers in the nation, right? And in my opening, I would say I'd welcome everybody, including the CIA and the FBI. And I would say, I hope that you all learn enough because you may join us one day.
That's how I hear him.
Yeah. Actually did this. And the FBI and CIA was in the room. One of the things, man, we wasn't scared.
Right. 'Cause ain't nothing you're doing is wrong. It's what you know what you have to
But
do.
they know we should have been doing that. Matter of fact, the Israelis told us when we when we got there, they said, hey, y'all ain't got to ask us for nothing. We came in and took it. Y'all need to do what y'all got to do. And that was at the highest level. So we done had those conversations. Because the Israelis did the exact same thing we did. Except we didn't use violence. No,
You gotta teach them how to do that properly.
well, that's why we're there. I mean, we know why we're there.
Yeah, I see the work that's going on. I see it. You know, like you said, it's a process, but it's effective because it's happening.
It's a process. And I'm going on a limb and I'm going to say to the people, we've been there, done that. You're privy to the history. So you can say, yeah, they did that. That's what they do. Right? Because we all over the world now. Right? But if they come ask us for help, we going to give it. Because we ain't scared. What they doing is what they do. They not the problem.
We the problem. We gotta do.
What the FBI and them figured out, that if you go to a party or something where black people are, you know what I'm saying, you throw a match and close the door, black people kill themselves. With innuendos, accusations. You know what I'm saying? Okay.
The roof is on fire and we dancing still.
You know, so that's unfortunate, but that's war.
That's war.
That's war.
Yeah.
And the reality of it is that the enemy ain't the problem. They doing what they supposed to do. They working to preserve their world.
Yeah, adversary against what we do. That's why they like us to just talk, because it's, hey, we keep them talking, and eventually they're gonna argue. They're gonna turn to a debate. Now they dividing each other up off of philosophy.
Yeah. Now imagine knowing that you infiltrated and you still keep going.
It's a bad man. Yeah, true enough.
I'm telling you, it's what it is.
I mean,
Because we realized that they wasn't the problem. It was our inaction. That was the problem.
Yeshua did the same thing. He knew he was infiltrated. He kept going.
Kept
He
going.
said the word got to keep going.
Got to keep going.
Yeah.
That's the reason for these podcasts and all of these things. That's why I was so happy when you got back, because the platform, we got to talk about this because we got the answers for anybody who's trying to do anything. How you going to come into the realm that we had already dealt with and don't ask us, how do we get around
It's
this?
that disconnect, man. Like, I enjoy talking to what I consider our elders that have done, not just talk, but actually done what they said they've done. And then, like you said, it's a lot of work that goes into it, and it's a process, which people think it's supposed to happen overnight. No, this thing, Rome wasn't built in a day, as they say, right?
That's right.
So to hear from elders and not reinvent the wheel, because a lot of wisdom that I take from you guys, we'll be able to implement it when we begin to build on and add on to, not separate. It's to add on to. And that's why I think when it came to like the concept of the community center, it's not an individual thing. We could have went there and said, all right, we're gonna build a home and just be living free and living in our own home. But no, we gotta empower our people there, because if they get this, but they say Africa has the youngest population.
Yeah.
You put that with the wisdom that you guys have already been sharing. You guys are not just in Israel. You guys are all throughout
Man,
the continent,
we're
all
all
over the place.
we're all over the place.
So
And it wasn't, and it ain't easy.
no,
But we ain't scared to go nowhere and do nothing or whatever, because we done set it in motion.
yeah,
We got freedom right now. So if I got freedom, you got freedom.
yep,
I just have to be able to articulate it to you so you can share the same sentiment.
yeah,
That's it. If I'm free, you free. All you need to do is get with me and let's figure out what the next steps are.
that's it,
That's all I'm saying.
that's it.
Ain't nobody scared of what they going through. You understand what I'm saying? They don't put no fear in nobody's heart. You know what I'm saying? The only thing they got is violence.
That's all they got.
That's all they got.
Violence and fear that they put, and if fear stagnates your movement. So you guys heard it, and you heard it here first on the perspective. It's work that has to be done, but hey, we have a group, we have a nation that has already done the work. And so why not join and stop reinventing the wheel and begin to do the work that is there. And this is what we call true freedom, a process that continues to go, that it takes, just like you said, an apple seed. You plant it, and eventually you're going to taste that sweet apple.
Yeah,
Not there
man.
yet, but we almost there.
We're almost there.
So,
That's what I'm saying. And you see the world changing.
yeah.
In one of my songs, I say, I can feel the rhythm of life. Things are changing. I can feel the spirit in your heart tonight. Something in the atmosphere is just right, moving us in the right direction. We can really, really win this fight. We've been changing things, and there's things that have to be done. Have to stop being selfish and recognize this and get ready to fight this. This thing, this feeling inside that stops us from uniting.
You heard it here first. And with that, we'll end our show. Make sure you grab you a copy of Freedom. You can find it on Amazon. And support what is going on already, and get the history that you guys have been missing out on. And it is not history based on philosophy, it's history based on experience in real life. And it's continuing today. So get you a copy. Get your copy today if you have not. You can get it on Kindle or a hard copy as well on Amazon. And with that, we say shalom, and thanks for tuning in to Perspective. We'll see you all again very soon.
Until the lions have their historians, tales of the hunt shall always glorify the hunter.
Yeah, man. man. Good show. Yeah, man, I really want to help them people, man. So you can set that up ASAP, man. Take it down.
The views and opinions expressed are those of the guest and do not necessarily reflect the official policy or position of Ruach and Emmet. Any content provided by our guests or authors are of their perspective and are not intended to malign any religion, ethnic group, club, organization, company, individual, or anyone or anything. The purpose of this broadcast is to provide education and thought-provoking discussions. This is the perspective.